Hello, I'm Justin with Peak 44, and today I'm going to help you try to figure out which inlet to choose for your rifle. I'm going to start out with a rifle that has been removed from the stock. It makes measuring a lot easier. This can be done when it's in your stock, but definitely easier without, and no scope also helps as well. The things we're going to need today, I need a Sharpie and a pen, calipers. I've got a ruler that needs to be at least 7 inches long. And what I've done here is I've printed out a sheet. This is from the Peak 44 website, which has where we need to take the measurements and what the measurements of the stock inlet are. So first off, I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to butt it up right against the recoil lug on this Remington 700. It's essentially the barrel shoulder is where this needs to butt up to. In the case of the Remington 700, that is where it is. So I'm going to take my Sharpie and I'm going to mark at each location that the print tells me. So I'm going to mark it at 0 inches or right at the recoil lug, 1 inch, 3 inch, 5 inch, and 7 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that. And you want these marks to be as close as they can. So, take a little bit of time, make sure they're in the right spot, because if it's tight on the inlet, you're going to want to know that, so the measurements are important. Next, you're going to grab your dial calipers and be sure that you set it at 0 with them closed so that you get accurate measurements. And then I'll start taking measurements. So right at the recoil lug, I get a measurement of 1.259. So on my sheet, right above A, I'm going to write 1.259. Now at my 1 inch increment, which is B, I'm going to go to my mark, take a measurement, and I get 1.177. And I'll continue to do this at each one of these marks. So it's C, 0.966. D, 0.847, and E, 0.798. So now that I have these measurements, I can look at the sheet and basically verify which one of these it'll fit into. So my 1.259 here looks like that number is less than both of these numbers. So far it will fit in both inlets. 1.177, again, it's smaller than both those numbers. I'm good. 966 is smaller than both those numbers. 847, smaller than both those. And 798 is also smaller than both of those. So in the case of this barrel, on this barreled action for a Remington 700, either one of these will work. Generally, you want to pick the inlet that will look the nicest, so you're looking for the smallest amount of gap. So in the case of that, it's going to be the number 1 or number 2 barrel inlet from Peak 44. And I know it will fit very well. If you're worried about a gap, for instance, I've got, let's see, well, in the case of this one, the most it looks like I have is 80 thousandths of a gap. So what I'll do, and that's at point E. So in order to see what that's going to look like on your inlet, I'm going to take my measurement to the E, number 1 inlet, which is 0.866. So I'm at 866, and I'm going to put that over top of my E measurement, which is at 7 inches, which since I marked with my Sharpie, and you're going to be able to see how much of a gap there is. You can kind of position your calipers to where the gap is even on both sides, and to me it looks very nice. It's going to be about a 40 thousandths gap, so that will be totally taken care of. Now that I am finished taking my measurements, I know which inlet I'm going to do. I've got these Sharpie marks on my barrel. I'm going to take my rubbing alcohol, spray it on just a rag, and those will come right off. So you don't have any Sharpie left on your rifle. So that's how you choose an inlet for a number 1 or number 2 on a Remington rifle. Now I'm going to show you how to do a heavier barrel. So we're back, And now I'm going to be trying to fit a heavier barrel Remington 700 into this Peak 44 Bastion stock. So I've went ahead and marked, just like I did on the number 1, number 2 barrel, all the locations where I need to take measurements, and I've taken those measurements. And so here's the thing here's the measurements that I have put together. And as you can see, if I were to choose the Sendero Light or Sendero inlet, the barrel will fit in there just fine. However, you may notice that my gap is starting to get pretty big past this C measurement. And so I'm going to show you how to check and see what kind of gap that is going to be, just in case you have some issues and don't want it to look that way. So at this at measurement E, the measurement for a Sendero is going to be 1.115. So I'm going to go ahead and move my caliper just like we did before, 1.115. So I'm going to take that at this measurement E, which I have marked right here, and if I hold it there, I can see that there's going to be a pretty good gap there. So just to show you what that's going to look like in this Peak 44 stock, going to mount it in there. And you can see what this heavier barrel looks like in this stock. So you can see there's a bigger gap up in here, but fits real nice here. So this is definitely a free-floating barrel in this inlet. Will shoot great. I think it looks perfectly fine, and I would be happy with this, but sometimes people do like these to be a little tighter. So this is one example where I have verified it will fit, and this is what it will look like. I'm Justin with Peak 44. Thanks for watching.